Hi everybody, thank you for coming. Today I'm here to talk to you about bearded dragons, and I don't mean mythical fire-breathing creatures with beards. I mean bearded dragon lizards. You might have heard of them, you might not. Who here by a show of hands have heard of bearded dragons before? Okay, so quite a few of you. This right here is not a bearded dragon. This is a cat on the table right now, but this right here is a bearded dragon lizard. This dragon might scare you at first look if you've never seen it, or it looks very interesting. It's a relatively large lizard if you're thinking of a regular outside lizard, but if you're thinking of something like an iguana, it's not that big. But these bearded dragons usually range from 12 to 24 inches in length full grown. And as you can see, they have thorns all around their head and down the sides of their body with a long thorny tail. And they have triangular shaped head. They are very scaly, so if you want to pet them or something, you're going to want to go this way and not this way, otherwise it'll be painful for both you and the dragon. So the name bearded dragon, you might be wondering why their name is a bearded dragon. When these dragons get either mad, excited, or want to mate, something like that, they have a scaly, thorny, I would say, patch that puffs out down here and goes about out like this long, and it turns black. So these dragons are known for that, because when they get mad and this beard comes out, they look very, very cool. These bearded dragons come from Australia. They originate from Australia. Although they're in the US a lot today, they originally come from Australia. They live in woodlands, sandy areas, or deserts, or something like that. These bearded dragons, since they don't have a central heating system inside their body, they're reptiles and cold-blooded. They need high temperatures, so they live in dry desert areas. These dragons need temperatures of about 90 to 110 degrees during the day. So if you ever see a bearded dragon out in the wild, you're going to see it on a rock or a fence post or something high, so they can get to the sun. They want to get as high to the sun as possible. At nighttime, when the temperature changes, they often go in the bushes, or even first thing in the morning, they won't come out of the bushes for a while. Or if they get really cold, they'll bury themselves under dirt. These bearded dragons in the wild, just like other lizards, eat a variety of bugs and veggies. In the desert, you're not going to see just a big pile of bugs or a nice bed of plants, so obviously they don't eat every day. But bearded dragons have a big stomach, so when they do eat, they eat quite a lot. They can actually go a while without eating. Sometimes they hibernate. Bearded dragons in the wild will eat, insects or spiders or something like that, in any plant they can get a hold of. These bearded dragons were introduced to the U.S. in the 1990s. In 1960, it was illegal to export the bearded dragons, but they made their way over here, and now they're pretty popular in the U.S. So they've been bred in the U.S. a lot. If you buy a bearded dragon right now, it's obviously not going to be from Australia. It's going to be bred in the U.S. If you're looking for a bearded dragon, you'll see it at pretty much any local pet store. So you probably have seen one by now if you go to the reptile section. Or you can find them at a reptile store, or if you're looking to buy one, you can get one on Craigslist. I personally got mine on Craigslist, but if you're getting it off Craigslist, you're going to want to make sure that it's not malnourished or bred, inbred or something like that, because it could have neurological disorders. Also, if you're looking to get one, bearded dragons are not always tan and yellow. Usually they are, but there's a lot of different species, and they can be leatherbacks or hypo or something like that, so they can be a lot of different colors, like orange, red, pale yellow, white, stuff like that. Really crazy stuff. These bearded dragons, if you're thinking about owning one, need a couple of things. There's a couple of essentials to own these bearded dragons. You could have an outside cage, but usually you're going to want to have an inside one, because the weather conditions are not always going to be hot, obviously, so they'll need to be brought inside. If you're going to have an inside cage, you're going to want to have a cage that's about 40 gallons for them to live comfortably. Obviously, in the bottom of the cage, if it's glass, you're going to want to keep some kind of bedding, sand preferably, because it's like desert sand. These bearded dragons also obviously need a source of heat, so they'll need a heat lamp and also a UV lamp for sun rays or artificial sun rays. On the other side, they're going to want a shaded area of about 85 degrees so that they can stay cool if they want to. These bearded dragons also will obviously need to eat, so you'll need to have a steady income of, usually crickets is what they're fed in captivity, but you can use roaches or worms, a lot of different worms, stuff like that. You also want to feed them veggies such as romaine lettuce, kale, turnip greens, any kind of veggies. Just you don't want to feed. You can also feed them fruit, but nothing too citrusy, as it will be too hard on their stomach. These bearded dragons in captivity will live about 8 to 12 years if they are kept healthy and things like that. So if you're thinking about getting a bearded dragon or anything like that, I just wanted to inform people of how cool this lizard is. It usually just hangs out and it's really fun to look at. You're not going to see a wild side to them unless they're mad or mating or something like that. But they're very fun to own, and I love them very much. They're awesome animals. So I just want to thank you for listening to my speech about bearded dragons. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll begin the Q&A. So does anyone have a question?
A question. On the bearded dragon, when the females, when they mate, how many dragons can be bred at one time?
Dragons, when they're laying eggs, actually it's interesting, the dragons can actually store the sperm so they can lay eggs at different times. My bearded dragon had 21 eggs her first time when she laid eggs at a time, so they can be, you know, up to 20 eggs at a time. Anybody else?
What are the different colors?
The different colors of the bearded dragons can be, I mean, there's a lot of different colors, but there's like, for example, a sunburst bearded dragon, which is like orange, or there's a really pale yellow bearded dragon, there's black, there's all different kinds of colors. It really just depends on the breed of the dragon.
And how much are they?
In pet stores, they're usually anywhere from $30 to sometimes over $100, but on Craigslist you can get, you know, deals. It really depends. I got 2 bearded dragons in a cage for, I think, around $100, $120 altogether.
You mentioned feeding them insects. When you feed them insects, do you actually feed them to them, or do the insects run free and then the dragons catch them themselves?
Yeah.
Is there a method to it?
No, really the insects, they need calcium on them dusted, so you're going to want to put the crickets in a bag and dust them with calcium because they need a source of calcium, obviously, and you can just let them loose in the cage and they'll go after them.
So pet shops actually carry the insects for you to actually feed these critters?
Pet shops, yeah, but they're very expensive at pet shops, so you can either order them online, which I wouldn't suggest, but a reptile store is where you're going to want to buy them. But they need to be from a store. They can't be from outside, because if the crickets eat pesticides and stuff like that, you don't want to feed that to your dragon.
I'm sorry, what did you say the lifespan of an average?
The average is about 8 to 12 years. I've heard of 14, but that's really pushing it.
Is that as a pet, or?
That's as a pet in captivity. And, okay, if that ends the Q&A, we'll have someone come up and critique.
Yes. Great job. Great job. We thought it was very informative, and we thought that you explained everything very well about the bearded dragon. Some of the things that I would look at is your body language and move them around a little bit more, a lot of the touching of the face and working with it. But I think the information and the details were there, and I think you followed along perfectly in displaying the lizard, and we really enjoyed the cat in the beginning as well. So we just want to thank you for your time, and thank you for all you do.
Okay. Thank you. If that concludes